It's that Underground Railroad, and this train is freedom bound.
Lawrence, Kansas was well known to Missourians as an abolitionist whole. Being well known was a double-edged sword for freedom seekers. Enslaved persons knew Lawrence was a place to find freedom. On the other hand, bounty hunters and U.S. Marshals from Missouri paid a lot of attention to Lawrence.
But we also have to realize that what's important to hear is Lawrence is not very far from Lecompton. Lecompton was the recognized territorial capital. It was pro-slavery. You could keep them maybe for a day or two, but you needed to be transporting them.
Dr. John Doy was an Englishman who came from Kingston upon Hull, England, and he came to Lawrence. He was in the first immigrant aid party here.
We made a bargain with the captain of the Polar Star in St. Louis to take us to Kansas City for $12 a head. At Lexington, we were warned that a large party was waiting for us in Kansas City and would give us a warm reception of such a character as might induce us to go back. On nearing Kansas City, our little army of 29 was drawn up on the deck with rifles and revolvers all ready to give a fitting response to the promised warm reception, but we found no one to molest us.
Reverend John E. Stewart was a Methodist preacher and became known as the Fighting Preacher. Under the guise of a traveling produce seller, Reverend Stewart approached enslaved field hands to learn if they were interested in freedom. They made arrangements to meet under the cover of night, and soon the freedom seekers bounced into Kansas under a load of corn. Stewart always gave them a gun for self-defense.
He brought back, by 1860, he had brought back 68 people, and then even later on in that year, for what we call the last train, he took 13 more people up to Iowa. He had a cabin. It was almost like a fortified camp out there at where he lived on the Wakarusa, 4 miles south of Lawrence.
William Quantrell appeared in the Lawrence, Kansas area around 1859 using the name Charlie Hart. He fell in with a group of bounty hunters.
He actually worked with Captain Stewart for a while and thought that, he was a good man on the right side of everything. And then Captain Stewart found out that, well, he was doing the opposite. He was taking slaves and taking them back to Missouri.
Quantrell hung around the Kansas River Ferry landing to catch escaping enslaved persons. Ike Gaines appeared at the ferry looking for Jim Lane's house. Quantrell convinced the freedom seeker he would take him to Jim Lane and the Underground Railroad. Soon Mr. Gaines was bound and on his way back to Platte City, where the widow Joanna Gaines paid a $500 reward.
He and Quantrell started stealing cattle together. Quantrell would steal the cattle. I'm sure in John Stewart's mind they were only supposed to steal cattle from slavery men, but I'm sure that they weren't all that careful.
In December 1860, former enslaved brothers William and John Thompson, along with John Martin, were returning from Canada in a quest to free their families still held in Indian Territory. They encountered William Quantrell. He tried to recruit them to raid Missouri slave farms.
And these black men had made all their way to Canada and they were coming back to get their families in Oklahoma. So they'd been on the route. They knew, not everybody was who they said they were. And they picked up on Quantrell. It's kind of interesting. It's too bad the Quakers that went with Quantrell never did, that he was just a no-good snake.
One of Quantrell's last false flag operations was the Morgan Walker raid in Blue Springs, Missouri. He convinced Springdale, Iowa Quakers Charles Ball and Chalkley Lispy and Edwin S. Morrison to join a plot to free Walker's 30 enslaved persons.
Morgan Walker had about 30 slaves. He had about 100 head of livestock, and Quantrell conned them into, we're going to go and free these people. Well, when he told them to go outside and find the slaves, well, he told Morgan Walker's family that these guys were plotting to kill you.
Morgan Walker's son had slipped out and alerted neighbors. They rode to the Walker farm, ambushed, and killed the 3 young Quakers from Iowa. In Kansas, suspicion fell on Quantrell, and he stayed in Missouri.